just right away, they think it's going to be way more expensive than it is a lot of times. I literally had an executive at a GC tell me, like, if somebody tells you they can't afford to take progress photos and videos, there's something wrong with their budget. like, like it's so valuable that this doesn't make any sense that we wouldn't do this.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Built Different. Brian, great to see you. Good friend Neil here with us. This is going to be a fun conversation, fellas. I'm very excited to have Neil with us. And Brian, you guys have, I feel like I'm coming into a friendationship here that you guys have had for a while, and I've gotten to meet Neil through you. But yeah, thanks for bringing on Neil, and good to see you again, Brian. Nice outfit today, too. I like you rocking a little jean jacket look.
yeah, I just stunned me on that one. But anyways, yeah, I think for anybody probably listening here, you probably know Neil from LinkedIn, and you probably became friends with him probably through LinkedIn as well. I think that's how we actually got connected. I just saw the stuff he was doing, and it's funny because the more people I meet, the more I realize that was not as original as I thought. So I'm sure a lot of people will be hitting you up after this show as well.
Yeah, there we go, Neil. No pressure on that one, Brian.
Yeah. We'll do what we can.
It's awesome. Well, Neil, we are familiar with you, and we know a lot of our listeners that are tuning in will definitely be more familiar after listening in here. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're down in steamy, we were talking about this before we hopped on here, steamy Florida right now, which is probably the most uncomfortable place to be. But you guys are out there crushing it, doing some awesome work. I love your guys' content that you put out there. And yeah, just appreciate you coming in with us, man.
Yeah, really great. Really appreciate you guys having us. I was looking back at my my emails actually to figure out like when I started connecting with Drone Deploy. It was actually back at a conference in 2020. You guys did like some mini conferences, and one was in Orlando.
Nice.
And I went to that actually, and that's when I got hooked up with you guys. A little bit before that, right around that time also I was working with the 360. Construction site team as well, and got to know some guys over there. But yeah, so I got started in the drone industry, just to kind of kick it off, is flying drones more in a marketing sense. So I was working for some commercial truck companies down here in South Florida, and walked in one day. They had like an old Phantom 2, handed it to me and was like, hey, you're the video guy, figure out how to do this. There was actually no Part 107 yet. This is back 2015, 16, early 16, something like that.
Those were the glory days, you know.
Yeah, it was the
like, hey, yeah.
If you think it's the Wild West, yeah. If you think it's the Wild West now, it was it was the Wild West. So yeah, it was great though. Hopped on there, started flying on trucks, just learning my way around everything. From there, actually, went to go work for a company a nutraceutical company to find they're finding plants in the jungles in the Amazon of Peru. And prior to this, they were either using, I don't know if they were using helicopters exactly, or they were just driving around, sighting trees and like cutting off bark. And this would take weeks to do. And I went down there with them on a trip, set up a bunch of like manual video stuff with a big computer, a computer screen attached to the drone and back the remote with a bunch of like, janky way of doing it. But anyways, I did all that. And what I saw was after a couple of days, we did what took weeks, and was like, man, this is incredible. It's just going to change the world. And I just had to figure out which way and which avenue I want to take going into this. So yeah, it's been a couple of years going back and forth down there, and coming back 2019. Left there and just kind of left without knowing exactly what industry I was going to go into or what I was going to do, but knew that like drones was going to be the thing. So left there and started spending the next 4 or 5 months in 2019 just discovering what industry I wanted to go into, and saw that construction being just such a large industry, and two, kind of being still old school back then, and still sometimes even now, but that, man, this is a potential thing. Talked to a buddy who was a senior VP at a large GC from the Northeast down here, and yeah, just brought up the idea, and he thought it was a great idea, and figured, well, might as well try this. So started going around and knocking on some trailer doors with my my $10 hard hat from Home Depot and
Come on.
my, but no, during that time, really, really realized that like I don't know much about the industry and that I want to learn about the industry. And first of all, the only way to learn is just to kind of get involved and ask questions and do something for free or whatever you got to do to kind of get in and just learn your way in. So I did that. Yeah, spent the next year or two just mostly doing like progress photos, videos, just basic updates, maybe a map or two here and there and stuff like that. But got in with a couple large GCs who really helped me learn my way through. Who are just super awesome, great people. Some both clients of you guys and just great advocates for the industry in general and VDC and all that good stuff. So yeah, learned my way through there. And yeah, just started to grow the company, started to offer more services as we saw it grow. We started offering, actually we were doing documentation and reality capture services to start with. Then that grew into like the whole marketing side of everything. With me having a marketing background, it was kind of a simple transition for us, or much easier transition than the reality capture documentation side. But saying that, I wanted to spend the first few years just hammering into the reality capture side. I really wanted to learn. I wanted to learn construction. I wanted to learn the phases, how it works, get my boots on the ground, get dirty, sweat, just all the stuff that's involved. I really didn't want to come into the industry as like just the tech guy. I wanted to come in like as the guy who's willing to go out there, do the hard work, and if it takes a 15-hour day out on the job to sweat and learn, then that's what I'm going to do. I want to do whatever it's going to take. So yeah, we spent some time doing that, and over the years now we've grown the company. I was looking up some of the statistics. Last year we flew 731 missions across the state of Florida. Overall, we've flown around 300 and plus construction sites, which down here in Florida, I don't know how familiar you guys are, or people out there listening might be, but we are in like a massive boom of construction here. Mm-hmm. And ever since the pandemic started to dissipate some, it just took off like crazy. And I mean, if I were to guess, there's 50, 60 plus cranes up in the Dade County area. I mean, it's like maybe more, maybe I'm way underestimating, but it's really booming. So it's been a great opportunity to learn a lot, to keep learning, keep understanding, keep connecting with people, fly jobs. And I've had the great opportunity of working with Brian down here and hopping on jobs and working with customers and learning from them. So
man, that's awesome. Lots to unpack there. Brian gives me a hard time for right-turning some conversations. When you were like, oh yeah, we started out for doing some truck marketing stuff, and that's cool. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to Peru and we're going to look at some trees. Yeah, that's a good little right turn. But yeah, cool to hear. And yeah, we'll dive into a lot of stuff here that I definitely am curious about. And yeah, I mean, you said it so well. I feel like cranes down there are like dandelions. There's one every corner, and every time I head down to Miami, it's like, the skyline just looks completely different, and they go up so fast. A totally different market down there that us Texans up here, we like to boast about some growth, but man, different animal down there in South Florida.
Yeah,
for sure.
And also Neil also has probably like some of the best Peruvian food recommendations and Cuban food recommendations. Oh my gosh. Every time I'm down there, we eat probably half of the time and then we're on job sites the other half, which is a terrible combination.
I mean, you can't spend 15-hour days in the heat without some good breaks and food. I mean, when you're doing that much, you're doing 1 meal days. You guys all know what I'm talking about, where it's like, hey, you're eating once and you're just staying out there to get the job done. I know those days. That's not too far.
Yeah, we're big on what we call cafecito here, which is the Cuban coffee. It's like this big, but it's powerful stuff. So that's what keeps us powered down here in South Florida.
I've heard Brian, you mentioned that a couple times. I mean,
when we were in that Juno with Wilson on the Juno job site, it's actually something they've standardized on all their projects. It was like a cafecito machine specifically. It was like the little like jet fuel that he gave me.
I mean, is it like espresso? Is that the idea?
Yeah, super strong espresso with lots of sugar.
Oh, hey, that's what I'm talking about. I can go down that route. Yeah, that's awesome. Neil, I know we want to kind of dive. So, name of your company. Let's just like even put that out there. So, how did you come up with it? What's like the background? What is the name of your guys' company?
Yeah. Sorry. So Blue Water Jones is the company. Name. I mean, to be honest, we just kind of like threw out some ideas. and we lived near blue water and drones, and all the URLs were available.
Come on.
And one thing I learned in the beginning was it's come up with a name and just get to work. So
Yeah.
I
Don't get caught in the is there an
yeah,
Instagram tag? Is there I mean, yeah, gotta have a website but
yeah.
you can do those across the board. But that's awesome, Brian. I know you're screaming with some questions, and it's been cool to see your guys' friendship too from afar, and just the work that you guys have done down there when Brian's in town. But yeah, Brian, where do you want to take us, my friend?
Yeah, so to begin, right, it's interesting because knowing the part of the story where you were really going large on the photo documentation, but I still see your largest feeder being this marketing, right? So people like that catches a lot of people's eyes, and sometimes they'll come into it not even knowing what else is out there other than these high end, high quality videos. I've learned a lot of my personal marketing manual flight from Neil actually, and yeah, I would just like to kind of hear about what's that progression kind of look like for your average, prospect coming in the funnel? Like, are they usually coming in for marketing purposes and then are you slowly building into what else is possible, or are you starting to see over time more people coming in just for the documentation?
And I was actually curious about on that front too, because I think you said earlier, it's like, hey, I really wanted to go hard in the reality capture side of it. And I feel like that's not often kind of, I don't know, call it the sexy side. It's like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of, I mean, we all know how sexy it can be and the data part of it and the value that comes from it. But yeah, it was interesting to kind of hear you say that too, of like, no, I want to go really hard to the paint. But to Brian's point, like sometimes a good catchy post and something to put your name out there. And I will say your posts are amazing, and the content you guys do is obviously speaks for itself. But yeah, curious to add that in there too, because that's not very normal. I feel like to have that kind of desire to be on the data side of it too.
Yeah, I mean, the data side is what really attracted me to start with was the value, right? So, for example, I started just doing basic progress photos and videos, and people may see that as like, like we could just have a guy go around and take photos, this, that, or the other. But what I started learning from some early customers, because I would really ask them questions like, hey guys, what do some senior VPs of these, large GCs, what do you guys think of this? How do you see value, like, and that sort of thing? And they would give me answers that like blew me away. Like, oh yeah, last month we were going to potentially be sued over something, and this saved us, God knows how much money. I mean, they don't even know, but you're, X amount of this small little thing could do this, could do that. It could, also provide value on I actually don't view some of the reality capture stuff. I actually view as it could be used both ways, for marketing and reality capture. And what we do, which is different from some companies, but we actually shoot like some of the progress photos and videos in raw, and we keep all that stuff. So that way, if we ever want to go back and create marketing videos, create other stuff, we can actually use the data for two different things, for both the marketing and for the reality capture side. And this provides a lot of value to the client. And so yeah, that's what I saw at first, was just like, wow, this is a lot of value. I really want to give something more than just the cool wow, like kind of marketing thing. I want to provide something, and I really want to like grow the industry. I want to see it grow, and I want to help it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help clients. I want to help them save money. I want to make things safer on construction sites, like all that stuff that a lot of us know is possible. So yeah, I started to progress through those services. And after that, I did start seeing, so some people started asking about the marketing side, like, hey, while you're up there, can you do this? Can you do
Mm-hmm.
that? And I started to play around with it. I started to get some other friends that I have that are more in the production side of the world, that tour with Lady Gaga, all these kinds of things, and started asking them, hey, what do you think? What do you think we should do? What do you think is a good idea for this and that? And started just to like really expand into it down here, because we build a lot of vertical construction, a lot of really
Mm-hmm.
high end condos. I mean, I don't know what the percentage of the market is, but it's a lot of it. And so because of that, obviously the marketing side is super valuable when you're
Mm-hmm.
selling, multi-million-dollar condos, these views, the photos, even like 3D models and stuff like that, where we can model, they can put the building in, we can help with all that sort of stuff, is really valuable. And so, yeah, I started working inside of that. And sometimes the flow, people are asking for that. And then it kind of works a little bit in the documentation. But I find that people either kind of have their mind made up in the beginning of like,
Mm.
I want you, like, I'm the GC, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then maybe the marketing stuff later or something. Or that it's vice versa. It's like all marketing, like, we're a developer, we don't really see the value of this yet,
Mm.
or whatnot. Now I say that, I would say over the past like year, I really have started to see a shift in both sides. Like both sides are more interested in the other side than they've ever been, which is really exciting. We started working with a developer on like pretty in a large way on the reality capture side down here. That a pretty large developer, and that's been really exciting to see as well, as see them like hop into and start to see value. I mean, they
Mm.
were literally like, yeah, it's fine, not whatever it costs, but kind of whatever it
Mm.
costs. Like we see a lot of value in this. Like we're really excited about this. We want to make sure it's done well and done right, and all that good stuff. So,
So Neil, even on that front, right? So, now we're talking about construction, but I've seen you guys really start breaking into this site selection, this pre-construction. You're almost becoming an extension of a lot of these owners and developers. Like,
yeah.
with a lot of that, I mean, could you talk more to that? Even the pre-construction capture you did for some of the high rises, those buildings are so tight that you get blamed for any crack within
Yep.
10 feet vicinity. You could end up being a very expensive charge.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we kind of think of ourselves when we got into space. So as I realized immediately that most of these companies or their developers, GCs, even if they're both GCs, most of the time they work like in completely different ways. Their systems are completely different, their knowledge is completely different, their teams are completely different, like all this sort of stuff. And though they may seem the same, so they're so different that we're going to come in and we're going to kind of be like an extension, an arm of their company. We're going to help them um, figure out like, okay, well, they really only need like some operators, or they actually need help with data. They need to help ingest it. They need some training. They need marketing as well, or whatever it may be. But we're going to really kind of be an arm of their company. So once I learn like what some of their biggest problems are, like pre-con, right? So, hey, we're having all kinds of issues. We're leaving the job site. We're surrounded by 350-story buildings. They're all like 30 feet away from each other, kind of similar to imagine like New York could look or does look, so like that vibe. And so like, so with that, we could come in and say, oh, great. Well, yeah, we could take photos or video or map this, even getting down to the granular size of, okay, there's balconies that overhang, right? Like most people don't even think about this, but like, can we get under the balcony, over the balcony, inside the balcony, right? Like we can with a drone without even, most of the time, without even going into the building, which is
Mm.
incredible. They don't have to ask more permissions. They get permissions for us to fly around it, but they don't have to ask like each unit owner for us to come in, all that sort of stuff. You can do it all just, from the job next door. And so because of that, we've been able to add a lot of value to the clients. Yeah.
What do you think, Neil, are like some of the biggest like misconceptions of using like a service provider? Like you obviously kind of highlighted the contractor side and the owner side and developers. Like what do you feel like you're answering the most that they're like coming to you and maybe they're maybe asking something in a certain way and you're like, oh, interesting that you kind of perceive it that way, or yeah, just anything kind of stand out from like misconceptions that you've seen?
Yeah, great question, and for sure, yeah. So I would say the biggest one, and I mean for us, and is just the price.
Mm.
It's just right away. They think it's going to be way more expensive
Really?
than it is a lot of times, and yeah, that's the biggest downfall. Less even, or the biggest issue that they're coming in with, and less even about the about like, well, if we do it in-house, but even like, is there budget for this? And once they find out like the dollar amounts that are involved, I mean, I literally had an executive at a GC tell me like, if somebody tells you they can't afford to take progress photos and videos, there's something wrong with their budget. like,
Mm.
like it's so valuable that this doesn't make any sense that we wouldn't do this.
That's
And
shocking. I'm
And,
and
surprised
and
that they think it's like less
seriously.
expensive, or I'm
yeah,
sorry that they think it's more expensive. Like,
they do, yeah.
where do you think that comes from though? Like, where do you think that like?
I mean, honestly, a lot of people either overcharging other players that have, been around for a long time in the industry that maybe even before drones were there, and I don't want to say take advantage of it because it was just a different market than it is today. But we just had very different pricing than what we have today out there. Yeah, I mean that's what we're seeing. I
Do
mean
you think
some of
like
the go ahead.
pricing? Do you think like pricing models and just like diving into like how you guys charge too? Is
Yeah.
it like are retainers more interesting for them? Is it more of like a hey, just do this once and we'll kind of see how this works? Like what are you finding that is like sticking the most to like continue the relationship past the like cool idea phase?
Yeah, so I mean one of the things is honestly we like to show value before asking for money. So depending upon the client, the situation, most of the time we're, especially larger clients, we're more than willing to go shoot your job, honestly for free. Like we just want to show you value. We want you to see not, and it's not just about, I find a lot of times it's not just about the service. Sometimes okay, it's easy to understand. Like you're going to take drone photos and like, this is the value, right? But it's really like, how does it work with our team, right? Are these people, when they make a mistake or when something goes wrong or when they show up to our job, are they going to be doing things professionally? Are they going to be doing things the correct way? Do they have the right insurance? Are they really kind of what they say they are? Or is it, and I don't want this to sound bad, but like, is it the guy with a drone that's my
Mm.
neighbor? And we're really always kind of trying to push back against that. And I don't want to, again, I don't want that to sound bad. Like there's anything wrong with that because we all have to start somewhere, and I started somewhere, and potentially at one point I was that guy, but I also took the field very seriously. I was very professional. Like I said, I got my $10 hard hat from Home Depot and my vest, and I had my boots on and my jeans and my polo, and
Which
though I
are
may
all
not have,
required, by the way, for everyone listening.
yes,
If you do go to a job site trailer, please go buy the $10 hard hat. And even if they have a hard hat for you.
yeah, 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 oh yeah. So there's a funny story there about getting made fun of for that, but with a guy I still work with today. But I had the hard hat on backwards. It was a trip. I
Hey,
was as
you,
green as it gets.
but at least you had the hard hat. I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
jobs that people pull up in some nice dress shoes, and I'm like, maybe not the best role there.
Shorts and flip
But
flops, I think, is a classic.
well, I guess if you're in South Florida, that's
Yeah.
probably fair.
I've actually had to tell people that we will not show up in shorts. I promise. Like,
Do you feel like that perception or really misconception from the cost side of it is the same on the GC side or the contractor side? Because obviously owners, developers have different budgets, different mindsets about them. Contractors have much different, thoughts to that too. Is it the same, or are there differences that you've seen?
so I don't see, and I say that. So on the development side, I don't see as much. Though obviously they're worried about price. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody, in this industry, it is what it is about that. But like, yeah, it's definitely more on the GC side. Because a lot of times, as you guys know, and a lot of the listeners know, is that they're always thinking about, can we do this in house, right?
Mm.
Like, what does it cost to do in house? And so when they're trying to compare, immediately they've heard pricing that's like, well, that's crazy, or that's really
Mm.
high, or they start thinking in their head, how can they save that money? And so whereas on your developer side, they're more than likely not going to hire somebody in-house to do this kind of work. Not at this point, maybe later down the road, who knows? But at this point, yeah, we don't really see that.
It is interesting. I want to camp on a phrase you said of like value before cost, because that's kind of challenging from a contractor to do, right? Like if you have someone that is going out there investing in hardware, like that's the cost before the value that they know is seen too. Like when did you kind of see that idea stick? Like were you kind of like that from the beginning of like, hey, we're gonna come and do this. Don't worry about the first one, or whatever it's gonna take to kind of have you see that. But yeah, like has that been helpful for y'all? What is, because that is a very interesting perspective from a service provider that you can do. It's like, hey, we'll show up, and if you don't think this is valuable, then hey, that's at the end of the day, that's probably best for us to go in our directions.
Yeah, I don't want to start it with like relationships are king, right? So you show up on time, you show up looking the right way, you shake someone's hand, and you're professional. You've honestly won like 90% of the battle.
Mhm.
Like, I that sounds ridiculous, but I've literally had like customers here tell me like, yeah, you showed up 10 minutes early, so get you the job, I mean, that's the one thing to start with. But the actual value of showing up and doing the work. Yeah, I see that the client right from the beginning, we started with this, just like I was talking about with some of my early clients, asking them questions. Yeah, I mean, I found right away that if I was going to walk into some issues like of people pushing back, well, this, that, I knew as soon as most of my customers, as soon as I got the data in front of them, or the information or the photos or the video or whatever, like it blew them away. I mean, it won like every single time. And so I realized, like, man, I just need to get this of, and it's not just seeing, like, sometimes it's like, well, I could send them samples and, like, and this, that, or the other, but there's just something about seeing your work, your project, and these beautiful photos downtown Miami. It's just like, wow, like, so how much is it? We can do this once a month? Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on out. And then they show it to an owner, that they're working with. And the owner immediately goes, wait, you guys can do these every month? Yeah, yeah, I want these every month. And then I have buy-in from the owner, and we're off to the races a lot of
Yeah.
times.
I'm
So,
I'm looking at your website. There's over 20 services. I'm probably just on one page here. I was diving into some of this. Like, what do you feel like is the ones that gets you in the door first? What are the ones that keeps you there? Like, and we haven't even talked about the interior capture as well, which I know is something that you guys do as well. But like, yeah, like what ones are the hook? Like, are they more of the markety stuff? Do they become the data stuff? Like, because I'm interested in, here's where I want to go with this is like, who or how are some of your customers educated? Like, are you doing the education through, strategic like posts of, hey, here's what we did for this other company and here's what, the value they got? Or do you feel like they've kind of becoming educated of like, oh, I didn't know this service was something that you guys could do? Like, the education and awareness piece is very interesting again from the service provider side, because we as a software provider, we're hopefully continuing pushing out education and awareness type of material. But you guys are, I mean, honestly, the front lines, the one on the boots on the ground, knocking on trailers and like talking through that. But yeah, lots there. But yeah, curious of like what do you feel like attracts folks from the services, and maybe like are they educated before you get there? Lots to kind of unpack with that.
yeah, yeah, no, there's definitely a lot there. And I'll kind of preface this with, I would say, though, you see all the marketing stuff online, because that's the eye candy that kind of gets us in the door, especially on like LinkedIn or on
Hmm.
Instagram or on these kind of platforms. But reality is we're really about 50-50 on our services in revenue. We're maybe even 60-40 onto the reality capture side. It's just not as much of the quote unquote sexy side of things. And we do want to show more and more of that and whatnot. But yeah, currently that's about what it looks like as far as the services that get us in the door. So like I was saying, it started with the progress photos and videos. Now I would say it's more like split, marketing videos and photos and progress photos and videos. And then once people start to see, like, the value of that, we've started doing, like I was talking about, like some of the view photos to get deeper into the marketing stuff for developers, for owners, for even like some large real estate companies and stuff like this. On that side, as far as on like the reality capture side, I mean, Brian had mentioned it, the pre-con. I mean, the pre-con is like a huge thing now. I would say that the pre-con and even a lot of the interior stuff is really starting to grow. And once we get in with some of this stuff, it's yeah, they start seeing value. And what we really try to do to show the value, other than just like, hey, we can provide you this service, and being like just maybe another reality capture service out there, is that we are going to go. So if in technology I learned, you can go 0 to 95, and the customer can, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but can mess up the 5%.
Mm.
And right, they cannot have the correct way to upload the video to Instagram or LinkedIn. They cannot have the data, in the right place so they can view it, so they can share it with the right person. And if that little 5% gets messed up, all your 95% of work goes out the door.
Mm.
Right. And so what I've learned is, how can we get them over the finish line, over all the way through 100%. So whether that means directly uploading to Procore for a GC, if that means we export our videos for marketing videos in a way that are perfectly made for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for all these platforms.
Mhm.
We have different codec and stuff. We actually put them in and all this. So getting them so when they upload it, when they use it, when they look at the data, it's perfectly ready for them. It's easily shareable, all these sort of things. So that's one thing that I found adds a lot of value. And And yeah, as far as the rest of the services that keep customers there, um, yeah, once they, I would say once they get over the hurdle of they had an issue, and our photo, our video, our map, whatever it may be, solve their huge headache. It's like it's a no brainer after that. It's super easy. So.
I want to, Brian, I'm stealing all the questions, so you just better butt yourself in here. I got one more, and then I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah. Deal.
Okay. You mentioned something that kind of made me think about this too. Like, how much training do you do of the data, right? So, marketing side, that's pretty straightforward. Marketers know what to do with that stuff. But the reality capture side of it does require, I think, a little bit of, hey, here's what you can do with this. Here's what we're going to do with this. Here's how you can continue this. Like, to your kind of 5% part of like, hey, like, I want to make sure you get to the finish line. Like, I'm not leaving you at the end and that you feel like you got to kind of run. Like, are you seeing that as something that you're kind of finding yourself doing more too, of like, hey, this isn't just data. Like, you guys didn't ask me to just dump a box and give you all this information. Like, here is how you need to use it. Is that something that you guys are finding more common too? Or like, are they asking questions that you're like, how does that kind of work from more of the handoff sense for some of those workflows?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they definitely are starting to ask more questions. But the way we're set up more so is to hand it off to them in a way that well, I should say this. To start with, we ask questions, right? Hey, what are you guys going to use this for? Where is it going to be used? Is it going to be shared? Like all these sorts of things. So we get ahead of that right off the rip. So I know whenever I'm, uploading something, I'm exporting something, I'm giving it to them, it's already and as much as I know of the right way. But then after that, yeah, if they have more questions, our team, we have project managers here who are ready to help them, whether that means like, hey, we need this measurement, we need this thing, right? But we're really hands-on with all that in terms of helping them. I say this like, all these customers are honestly, I treat them as if I was treating my parents, right? Like they have a question on how to get on the computer. It's like, not a problem. Let's get on the phone and let's figure it out. But that attitude, that relationship, I think gains a lot of trust and so on. And so through that, to answer your question, we definitely see people asking questions about it. It is something that's more difficult. I do find that, a lot of the GCs and especially the developers, they don't really want to like do the actual measuring. They don't want to do, they want it like, and I click here and I see what I need kind of thing. And so we try to help them and get them right to that point, whatever they need. So
yeah. Do you guys offer like training services too? Like if folks are like, hey, like I want to go maybe take what you're doing and have a project team that it may not make sense for you to go out to do. Like, is that something that you guys also have gotten into?
we haven't gotten deep into it. I've done it a couple times, and I like doing it. Like I really like training, and passionate about it. It's like to go into a team, and I have done a couple of them. And just to be completely honest, like I didn't really see it progress. They ended up just using us, and we continue to give them the data the way that they needed it. At the end of the day, I think a lot of these GCs and developers, right? They're there to build. They're there to build a building, to make sure that the team that's out on the building is safe every day and is doing their job and getting it done. And we're, for them to have to also be, analysts or these other things is sometimes a lot if they're doing a bunch of other jobs already. And so if we can just send it to them via email, via Procore, via drone deploy, whatever it may be, and they can just ingest the data, get it right away and make a quick decision, that's a win for them. And that's what we really try to do.
Yeah, it's funny, Brian. Honestly, this like idea of, contractors have gone down self-perform work, right? Concrete, casework, like it's interesting to see how contractors have really kind of evolved in saying, hey, I want to take over that scope, or I want to take on that scope is maybe a better way to say it, of, doing certain self-perform type of work. And I've never really thought of the term of like self-perform reality capture. I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? And you're going down that path of saying, yeah, like I want to commit to this. I want to have a team. I want to invest in the hardware. I want to invest in the workflow. And some teams have excelled at doing self-perform, not only scopes of work, but also, technologies as well that they're taking on. But yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'm just processing this out loud, but it's interesting that like the term self-perform reality capture hasn't really kind of been synonymous as much with what self-perform scopes of work have been. in that camp. So I don't know, just an interesting thought as we're kind of talking about that.
No, I mean I think you're completely right. Especially like when you're adding people into Procore, you have to put a designation of what is the relationship to this project, and are they a subcontractor? Are they a service? Like whatever that is, and I think that's where I really started thinking about reality capture is almost like a scope within the project.
It is a
Everything is
scope.
a scope. Yeah.
I don't think people think of it maybe as that scope. Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, that could be debatable too. I mean, do you think that? Like,
Yeah, I just actually had this conversation with an employee of mine and a friend of mine yesterday. We were talking about that. We're like, we're just the new subcontractor, right? We're just the new subcontractor on the site, and just like I'm sure, we could think of the sprinkler guy 50 years ago. I don't know if he was the guy, or if people thought it's unnecessary, and they made laws around it, and so on and so forth. And now it's standard on every job, and so I think, hopefully we'll eventually get there. But yeah, I do think about it like that.
yeah, it's interesting because I mean, it has its pros and cons, right? Like, I think there are some contractors out there that have crushed the self-perform, phase, and concrete probably is one that stands out the most, just because it is so influential on the critical path. Don't have to tell you that down in Miami, but yeah, it's fascinating how like I haven't seen a lot of people consider reality capture as a self-perform entity, as if they would, as if it's like a scope of work that they're taking on to like hire carpenters, hire foremen, hire like material. Like, it's a whole, like, there are self-perform teams within contractors, right? And some have been either wildly successful and they're taking off, or they've, maybe kind of dialed back and said, hey, that's like, we know that we can bring on someone to do that, just like as a contractor or trade partner would do. But I don't know, just even talking about it, it's interesting that I haven't even used that phrase of like self-perform reality capture, and like asking some of these customers that we work with, like, hey, are you in the business of self-perform reality capture, or are you in the business of contracting? And like, that is what you prefer, and that is the direction that you would rather work with some of these individualized experts, just like you do from a contractor side of it. That maybe how that would play out in the technology side of it too. Anyway, not to take us down a whole rabbit hole, but that, I don't know. That's interesting as we're like talking about it, to think through that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think actually I'm excited about that. I think that as I look at other subcontractors and self perform over the years, that actually that leads to a good path for us as an industry. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
Brian, I'll pause my question button as I'm hammering it home. What do you got on your end?
Yeah, I think where I want to end up is, and I think this was a perfect segue into that, is you look at organizations and everybody's like, yeah, we do AI, we do reality capture, right? Like, but like, what does that mean? And I like to think about it across the portfolio, because even with BIM, there was a time, and there still is, a lot of people who say that job's too small for BIM. It's a $5 million fit out, or we're only focused on a couple projects. But I've been really seeing services and these subcontractor reality capture companies coming in and playing a role to kind of create a standard for what reality capture is. I mean, essentially, when someone hires Blue Water, they're hiring quality, they're hiring consistency, and they're hiring not having to follow up to make sure if it's getting done, right? And I think a lot of the teams appreciate you as well, because it's more in the team's nature to manage other people, right? Like, they're not going out there for the most part and swinging hammers. They're managing people who are, and so they like like it's more of a natural relationship to say, hey Neil, I need level 7 captured. We're doing a pre-pour this week. I need you doing this. I need the facade captured on this date, right? Like, that's more of the natural communication, instead of saying, let me go out there and go fly it myself. But yeah, like, what has your experience been with the field teams on you having to kind of take a lot of this off their plate? Because usually they're just given things more to do, right? Like, like, people must love you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so once we get over some of the price hurdles, because again, I believe it or not, that is the one thing that we have to get over. But once we get over those price hurdles, yeah, and we come in and they start seeing it consistently every month. Even if they were flying the job before, yeah, it's a huge burden off their plate. Then they honestly start asking for other stuff. We just had a client recently who was like, "Oh, you guys have been here every week. Can you also go ahead and make me a marketing video for the city?" The city is worried about this, that, or the other. We're making them a marketing video, and they're the client's super happy, they're super happy, and it's something they could have never would have done in house, you know. And by using us, and by we help them with the relationship with the client, we help them save time on the job is getting done faster, better, you know, all those sorts of things. And so yeah, that's what we see from working directly with some of the clients. But overall, the attitude, I mean, we fly drones, right? So like you show up on the job and like six guys come out of a trailer and they want to see like how big is it, how fast is it, and how far away does it go? You know, it's like every single time. So overall, though, I would say it's a really great like vibe on the job sites. It's something that like we feel it's like an honor that we get to do this as quote unquote a subcontractor on the construction site. So
It's cool that you guys get to, I mean, Brian and I've talked about this too. Like you get to just capture in a way like the legacy of these teams, like, right? Like they're the ones that are, you know, sharing that with their families and friends and like reposting and like, hey, like you don't get to visit, you know, the project that I get to work on every day, but like check out this video. Like it's all like I've been to a handful of jobs that they just are crushing amazing, I would say just engaging marketing update content that will never like get old. It's just awesome to see, and jobs change so much and they have so much to like, they have so many stories to tell, but it's cool that you guys get to, you know, come in and tell those stories in a visual way, that, you know, oftentimes contractors aren't storytellers. Like that's a big challenge for them of, you know, telling that story as it gets built. But Brian, you got something?
Even on the documentation front, I think, Neil, we were talking about, you know, you see directors of quality, vice presidents of operation that aren't just focused on one project, but are focused on an entire portfolio. Right? Like, could you talk more about the like initiatives that you're starting to see around like, hey, I want this everywhere. Like this should be our standard going forward.
yeah, no, we're definitely starting to see that with some of the larger GCs and developers, where either it's a standard for developing side, I'd see it more of a standard. Some of the documentation is starting to reality capture is starting to take off, but definitely on the marketing side, and then on the GC side, yeah, we're starting to see it's like, okay, this is standard on every project, and we want, you know, you guys use Blue Water drones. Here's the deal. Here's the pricing. We have everything set up. It's literally a phone call or an email, a couple questions, and we're off. And we're good, you know. And so, with that ease and consistency, it's, you know, honestly like a no brainer. And again, like I was saying, for the pricing model and the way we have things set up, you know, we try to set it up so we get customers to use more services, right? The longer we're on the job in a day for them, the better the rate is for them, essentially.
Mm.
So we're really trying to get them to see like, okay, well, let's try this now. Let's try that service now. Let's do some interiors, you know, let's, you know, so on and so forth. And but yeah, we're seeing it. Some larger GCs are totally pulling, either totally pulling, you know, the in-house either 360 work or the drone work from their team, or they have, you know, a couple guys who are kind of flying here and there, more in an emergency, or more if it's, you know, ease of use, if it's a, you know, far location or something like that. But overall, you know, we're doing, you know, 80 to 90% of the work there. And actually, I prefer, and we prefer as a company, that they do this stuff in house, that they have a drone, they have 3 drones, they have 5 people who have licenses, that they understand drone deploy, they understand other softwares. They, you know, I actually prefer this. It makes our job a lot easier. Also, I just like working alongside other people who get this stuff, right? It's more fun when you're working alongside people and teammates who are excited about it rather than like somebody who's not. And so, you know, we a lot of times, a lot of the larger GCs, I'm working like right along somebody who's also flying this morning, you know, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh man, can you help me with this? And we're collaborating, and it's fun and exciting. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with the South Florida area, but we basically we're like within 5 miles of an airport for like 80 or 100 miles. Like the whole area is covered. So, you know, hey, have you gotten this waiver, or, you know, how are you doing with working with this person and that site? And so for me, that part of it is really exciting. I mean, I love that part of the industry, and I think a lot of people in construction can attest to that in general. So
Yeah. Neil, one last softball question before we kind of end this up here. What's your take on some of the docked solutions? I've heard from some kind of service providers of like, oh, like, is that going to like, you know, remove the need for me to come? Like, hey, that just kind of drop in work and that just kind of take over some of the stuff I'm doing. I obviously know you have a take on that. And I think it's exciting because it is unlocking a lot of things for folks, maybe from a maybe just consistency or frequency like amount. But yeah, like what's your take as a service provider and seeing some of those kind of automated, maybe not as much in Miami, given, just the demographic and kind of landscape that's down there. But yeah, what's your take in seeing some of those things come out?
So I'm pro technology, right? I want this thing to advance as fast and as far as it'll go. Like I'm excited about it. I mean, get me in a flying car sounds awesome if it's safe. Like I'm all for like all this stuff. Even as a business, I'm all for it, right? Like I don't view this as like a hurdle. I view this as I look at it from the sense of how can this help my customer? Right? Like you said, consistency, right? Wow, what if we could fly this weekly, daily, hourly? I don't know, whatever that may look like for the job. What could we create out of it? Could we create better marketing work, more, safety for the job and all this sort of stuff? And as that progresses, let's say there's, one day there's docks and we can put one on top of, every building in downtown Miami. Like I'm all there for it. We'll figure out how we find our place in that, right? I'm sure as we grow, industries in the past have grown, have changed technology, and people just adapt, right? And as an industry, as a service provider, we'll find ways to adapt. We'll, who knows? Maybe we'll own 100 docks one day. I don't know, and we'll rent them out. I mean, there's all there's all kinds of things, but I also try not to get way too ahead of myself and way too ahead of the industry. I've done that before a little bit in my own mind and think like not so much the dock, but this thing, or maybe I'm going to try to push that or this, and realize like if my customers maybe not fully asking for it, or I don't really see the need. I always have my eye on the future, but I'm not going to like overwhelm myself with that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. I hope that things get pushed along in a way where it can be safe and we can really push the industry. So
I'm expanding your name, Blue Water Drone Command Center. I'm thinking like, oh, Neil in 5 years is just sitting there hammering back on, oh, this project's going this day, this guy. Like it is crazy to think, and it's not too far off, And Miami's a completely different landscape. Obviously, crazy to think of what that could look like in that type of market, but it is super exciting. I love what you said too, of like, I don't want to get too far ahead of it, right? Like I don't want to propose problems that people aren't having to solutions that I maybe could help with, but may not be what, they're experiencing too. And that's a whole, I mean, we talk about that a lot, I feel like, on this show of just, hey, like sell the value that's being experienced now and today, and like dive deeper into that. Don't feel like you got to, take them down a rabbit trail that eventually is just a dead end that, is maybe beneficial for you as the provider, but maybe not as much them as the customer. And I don't know, that's a tricky part too, but no, it's cool. It's interesting to hear your perspective around it too, because I think maybe some other kind of, I remember when Doc 1, even with DJI, came out really early, a long time ago. And yeah, just that kind of sentiment of like, oh, is this going to like replace the need for, providing? And then it's like, well, hey, what about getting trained and certified on how to install it? Like, what about getting, trained and certified on the maintenance of it? Because these things are going to, continue to need some love. But yeah, cool to hear your perspective.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, honestly, I think I'm in one of the best industries in the world. I love it. Like I do this every day. I'm not tired of it, and I'm excited for the future.
It's awesome. Brian, you want to land the plane here or land the drone, pun intended here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Neil. I mean, we've had so many road trips together, so many different scenarios where we've had all these conversations, but to actually finally record one's always great. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing some of that wisdom.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me.
Cafalita? I already forgot the name of it. What?
Cafecito.
Cafecito. Come on. Cafecito.
Yeah, my wife is Latina, so she corrects me when I say it.
Hey, next time I'm down in Miami, we're really getting into some. I'm a big cruiser. My wife and I love cruising right now. It's our easy button vacation. So we actually went on one earlier this year out of Miami, and yeah, I mean, you fly in and you're like, dude, this place is insane. And then you get to the cruise port, which just speaks for itself. But I maybe need to get a little cafe. I can't. What? How is it?
Cafecito.
Cafecito. Come on. I need to put that as my name tag
Cafecito. Some Cuban food, maybe some Peruvian food. We'll mix. I'll mix in a whole experience for you, Grant. Don't worry.
Hey, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
When you went down there, 2 or 3 months ago, I was like, Brian, I didn't get the invite, man. And then I come back and see all this awesome content you guys did. I was like, dude, this is amazing. And he's like, oh yeah, Neil and I caught up, and I'm like, nah, no surprise. If Neil's attached to it, there's got to be some good stuff there.
Yeah, if anybody in the industry wants to come down, I'd be more than happy to take them out for some cafecito, show them a good time in Miami, and yeah, we love having people down here.
Come on, it's awesome. Well, good to hang out with you, Neil. Appreciate all your time. Honestly, just appreciate your wisdom to a lot of folks that I know tune in here and are either on the contractor side trying to, work with service providers like you guys, or on the service provider side that are trying to, continue to provide more value for folks that they're interacting with. It's just awesome, man. It's super cool to hear your perspective and wisdom on it. And I know the folks that are tuning in will definitely glean a lot from your experience.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me today, guys.
Love it. Appreciate it, fellas. We'll see you on the next one, and take care after some coffees. Come on.